Hello everyone, Net Narrator here for something a bit different today. I know this video is going to be strange and unusual for a lot of people, as I don't do intros and I don't do ad spots either. Usually I just go straight into a story. But not here. There is no ad nor story for this video. It's just a conversation I feel really needs to be had. And to head off any worries, first of all, no, I'm not quitting. And no, I'm not getting cancelled either. I simply believe there are a lot of things that need to be said, and I feel I am in a position to be heard. To start off with, I want to say thank you. Honestly and truly thank you for all the support you've given me over the years. From those who joined me way back when I was doing the SCP, Marshall, Carter and Dark articles, to those who have found me now. My life has changed so much ever since I decided to upload my first video, and none of it would have happened if you were not here to listen to me make up funny voices for all sorts of wacky characters across thousands of videos at this point. While I said this isn't an apology video, I am sorry if I end up looking a little strange with this video. I'm not used to or in my element doing this type of thing, but I promise I'm trying my best. And I'm doing this because I think it's important. That aside, let's get to the reason for this video. Artificial intelligence. AI. That's what I want to talk to you about today. And to be upfront with all of this, I'm not a computer whiz, or a programmer, or a doomsday sayer. What I am is someone who has read literally thousands of stories at this point, and I plan to read many thousands more, as well as of course being an author myself. In the last few years, I have covered the spectrum of human imagination when it comes to what we dream of for the future. And while that may sound like a strange way to claim insight to something as complex as artificial machine learning, that is because I'm not. I'm giving you all my thoughts on how generative AI is being used and, in my opinion, abused, both on YouTube and in today's writing culture. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, or take at least something away from this all. And if you want to help combat this deluge of slop we have to deal with, stick around until the end, as we have put together some strategies that you can use to reduce the amount of AI trash in your YouTube feed, as well as ways to combat the scummy practices many of these bad actors use. Also, I am not going to get pedantic about the differences between AI and LLMs. It's a flashy new tool humanity has been dreaming about for most of modern history. Sometimes it's the doom of the human race, sometimes it's our best friend. From sci-fi fantasy to dystopian hellscapes, everyone has a different vision for where the next great leap in technology will take us. And unfortunately, we seem to be in the timeline where all it is doing is flooding social media with annoying, low-quality slop. You've all seen it, I've seen it, and we can all recognize it almost immediately. The uncanny AI clickbait thumbnail with a dramatic clickbait title, and the exact same insufferable AI voices across a plethora of slop channels. I know I'm not the only one that dislikes them. I've seen the comments. As with anything, there will always be people trying to game the system by putting out as much content as they can. Videos with little effort or quality control, rapid uploads, and no consistency in the stories. Again, I know I'm not the only one that dislikes them. Often, these channels will never disclose the blatant abuse of AI in what they do, falsely claiming to be actually reading the stories themselves, or claiming to be using a voice changer, or falsely claiming that they wrote the stories themselves, or that they were written exclusively for their channel with conveniently no attribution to any author whatsoever. I have seen and heard all types of excuses, so take it from me, as one of the largest legitimate narration channels out there, all of these channels are full of shit. I do not want to act as if AI and TTS is some arbitrary boogeyman. I mean, some of the first HFY stories on YouTube were done with TTS, and served as many people's first introduction to online stories and the HFY community. And there's a certain charm to those older style of videos in a way, as you immediately knew it was a computer-narrated story. For example, Shadowrun Storytime, which I narrated last year, was first brought to YouTube in 2019 by Neckbeardia via TTS. An incredible story brought to tens of thousands of people by an automated voice. And here's a note from Flint, my good friend and moderator who helped me make the script for this video. This was about the time that I first found HFY. And if I remember correctly, it was the video by NFY, an early HFY story channel that had an actual human voice, entitled A Brief Introduction to Humanity, Fuck Yeah, with the standout delivery of the line, "Any race that is statistically extinct has no right to be a fucking major military threat." Yeah, that line right there is what got me interested in HFY. I spent a good long while listening to various YouTubers of both voice and TTS, while I was building transmission power lines and trucking across the US. And then I found Net, and here is where I've been. All that to say that just because it was narrated by a computer didn't mean it was created by the computer, that the TTS was simply a medium to convey the story to you. They couldn't hide it as anything other than what it was. Human-written stories being brought to a larger audience by a computer voice, not for a quick buck, but simply to bring a story to a new audience. And that was fine. Or should I say, it was fine at the time. Now things are different. It's been changed at a fundamental level. Technology has advanced, devolving into a consumerist-fed, corporatist environment, where the only thing that matters is numbers on a spreadsheet or an algorithm. At its current state, entertainment media seems to be following the path of least resistance. More content output to maximize viewership, regardless if the content is actually engaging or has any quality. Its focus has become nothing more than clicks, internet traffic, and eyes on the product. What could, dare I say, should have been a tool to help provide inspiration or for shitposting, has instead been walked into an easy cash grab by lazy people who just don't give a damn. And before someone gets snarky in the comments, yes, even I, human supremacist that I am, use AI for some of my thumbnails. And here's another note from Flint. The largest difference, or should I say application, of AI usage is obvious at a glance. Net always sets his titles in a bright green large font text that is the center of the thumbnail. The title is always the focus of the thumbnail, with the generated art often darkened or out of focus and not drawing the attention of the viewer. This makes the usage of AI minimal and unobtrusive, used as a tool to keep up with the large amount of content that Net puts out on a daily basis. Along with making sure that the digital render isn't the focus, he also credits the author of the story directly on the thumbnail, as well as linking in the description directly to the original story. Sloppies, on the other hand, make the AI render the focus of the thumbnail, sometimes without even the title of the story on the thumbnail, and oftentimes with a creepy-ass face staring directly at the screen. I honestly can't explain the mild irritation that flashes through me every time I see one of these things. There's just something wrong with them every time, and all I can attribute it to is the uncanny valley. From clickbait titles to sometimes outright pornographic thumbnails, most of these channels rely on getting as many people to click on them as possible, even when the content of the video is complete trash. Much like the old clickbait articles that still plague Facebook. And HFY is not the only community being infested with this slop either. Drama story channels, as an example, have also been nearly completely subverted by horrific AI drivel as well. That is not to say we should dislike AI in and of itself. There are plenty of creative, funny, and unusual uses for AI on YouTube. For example, there's a YouTuber called Trooper Vlogs, who recently began using the HFY trope of aliens giving reports of human battlefield bullshit. It's hilarious, it's obviously AI generated, but is actually funny and quality content. There's also the Biden versus Trump Call of Duty game chats from the last US election, or the Bigfoot vlog videos. These examples and other such videos all keep a core tenet to their content that separates them from the slop. quality shitposting. That's it. That's the difference. AI cannot, and most likely never will, be able to replace actual human writing. No matter how much tuning the current systems have been through, or how fine-tuned your AI girlfriend is, there is still a human element that is unreplicatable. It can, however, be used for some funny shitposting. There is just something about human writing that LLMs cannot recreate, be it a quirk of the human mind in its ability to sense something is off, or the subtle nuances of each individual writer that we subconsciously pick up on. AI writing, I believe, will never be able to replace the imaginary worlds and galaxies that authors share with us and transport us to in their stories. With that said, though, we need to talk about the worst part of this whole discussion. Theft. And what do I mean by theft exactly? Primarily, when theft is brought up in the writing sphere, it is talking about plagiarism. Defined by Oxford as taking someone else's work and passing it off as your own. The majority of us have had to learn about plagiarism at some point in school, and have probably heard the universal threats of failing a class, or being kicked out of school, or heard of someone who was expelled for plagiarizing. It's a fairly well-known rule of society that you shouldn't steal other people's things. Unfortunately, when it comes to digital media, and more specifically here, media with limited exposure, AI users and slop farms seem to believe that they are not beholden to the general rule of courtesy, in any form. From straight-up stealing stories, to taking them without permission with the absolutely pathetic excuse of "but I gave them credit at the bottom of the description," to running the stories through an LLM to change the details just enough that at first glance it doesn't seem stolen. There's a stark difference in taking inspiration from somewhere and just theft. There is plenty of discussion to be had over fair use and copyright abuse and public domain, but if a thief tries to defend taking someone else's work just because it was posted on a website, the thief is an idiot and an arsehole. Just because it was posted on an online board or behind an anonymous name doesn't mean that it's up for grabs, unless the author specifically states that they give their permission for it to be used. Theft is still theft in that regard, and I know for a fact that many slop channels have been copyright struck off of YouTube for that exact reason. Bottom line, don't be an arsehole. If you reach out to someone and they say no, then that's that. No means no, damn it. And on that note, harassment. The next subject is harassment. Constant DMs, begging, haggling, promising riches on par with the Nigerian prince scam. I've seen a lot, and it's become an annoying joke regarding the types of DMs that many authors have received by people wanting to use their content. Or better yet, the whining or threats when a legitimate copyright is filed against thieves. Some may and have tried to do things the right way, by reaching out to authors and convincing them to let them share stories through their content mills. I've seen the DMs. I've received some myself, even, from these slop farms. What is amusing is that their intentions always surface after the first stock message, and the manipulation comes out very quickly. It's been a recurring theme that the worst of these channels have taken to trying to get authors to not work with other, more legitimate narration channels. Of the many DMs that have been shared with me, a common thread among them focuses on money. And money is a strange and mildly uncomfortable subject when it comes to YouTube. So let me say this in regards to making money off of reading stories off the internet. Any agreements that I make with the authors of stories are completely private. It is between myself and them, and that's it. Then there are bad actors who have tried to undermine me in the past by harassing the authors I work with. I bring this up because I know that there are hostile parties that have made false claims about how I operate in order to try and discredit me, or to portray themselves and their activities in a better light. That is something I take personal offense with. Send me whatever crazy DMs you wish, but to try and go around me and harass those I work with immediately makes you my enemy. I have not, nor will I narrate a story without the permission of the author, or it being subject to the public domain in the case of old audiobooks from 100 years ago. If any author I work with wishes me to pull down a story that I've narrated, I have done so in the past, and I will do so again if it is requested. Back to the subject of making money from writing. Truthfully, it is very, very difficult to make money solely through writing. While it can be done, it is not an easy nor painless thing to do. Nor, I think, should it be the reason to write, especially in the fields of creative writing. Writing can and does reflect the passion of the one penning it. The stories that give the audience the most satisfaction are rarely written without love for the story itself. Perhaps that is part of what makes the AI-generated stories feel so wrong. Though all of this is probably best served as a subject for another time, so I will wind down this part by saying that when someone sends a DM that offers a revenue split that will generate hundreds of dollars a month for your story, I think the sender should be treated with the same level of interest as the get rich quick, get jacked quick, get laid quick bozos on YouTube. Mostly laughed at and ignored. As a notice of those who act like this, let me tell you a secret. Whomever you act like this to most likely have friends, and they will share your shitty antics with their friends, and they will all laugh at you. God knows I have. I don't want to dissuade people from reaching out to their favourite author, but it's one thing to reach out to an author with genuine intentions. It's another thing to be an arsehole and outright lie. And the liar knows they're lying. Empathy is incredibly important, and I will never discourage someone from being kind, but those who abuse kindness deserve none. There always comes a time where a line must be drawn and held. I believe we, as a community, and other communities that have been impacted by these AI thieves, have reached the boiling point, and that we need to begin calling out this behaviour publicly and loudly. Even after YouTube's recent crackdown on AI slop, new slop versions are still popping up nearly daily. Scammers are always going to scam, and grifters are going to grift. Any community that does not wish to fall into degradation must hold themselves to some form of standard, written or unspoken. There is always an ideology that those in the space hold themselves to, in at least some form or another. The most common of which are that of honesty and integrity, and a loyalty to the freedoms of their community when it comes to outside threats or influence. I believe the SCP community is an excellent example of this, with everyone contributing to a larger narrative as they operate under a Creative Commons attribution license, a method of copyright that allows anyone to contribute, alter, or adapt any of the works within the community as long as proper attribution is given to the original author, and that the altered work is treated the same. I do not think that this would be applicable to HFY, as HFY itself is too broad of a genre for it to be instantly recognizable as itself, though if a community member were to create and design a story that was specifically opened to the community, it may be possible to operate in much the same way. As it stands now, the HFY Reddit community does not operate under the same parameters as the SCP-verse. The authors and members of the community have sole ownership over their works, aside from the terms of service they agree to with Reddit specifically. In short, no one else is allowed to take or use your work without your permission, without first following the rules of fair use and copyright. Something that the AI channels disregard entirely. Without getting too far into the legal aspects, it remains that Reddit is a US-based company, and thus itself and any user is subject to US laws and regulations for content posted to the site. As much as the internet may seem like a place of little to no rules, when things end up going too far, the real world steps in. Now, I have said a lot at this point. I've laid out my views of this whole mess, and perhaps this is all I need to do. But I do not feel my words alone are enough, nor should they be. This script has been in the works for weeks at this point, and a good part of that reason is so that we had time to research, reach out, and gather a consensus. Everything up to this point has been what myself and Flint have seen and experienced. Neither of us are the arbiters of how the HFY community must be run, nor do I want to pretend that I have the perfect view of everything. What I do have is a platform I have devoted myself to building, and in that I recognise that if I say something, there's a high chance it is going to be heard, for good or bad. This entire video has been a distillation of years of experience, and the numerous views of the various individuals that make up the community of HFY. So on that note, I'll turn it over to Flint for the next part. For the last few weeks, I've been reaching out to various parts of the internet to get a better idea of the overall view of AI. To say that it is largely reviled is an understatement. I do have some direct quotes from authors, but I'll leave with the general sentiments I've received to some of my questions. I asked various communities questions related to what is the sentiment of the community towards AI-generated content? And the overwhelming response was contempt and derision. Some places outright banned any use of AI in writing, while others allowed it in very specific situations, such as translating. An overall takeaway I got from the replies was that AI is seen as fancy theft and outright detrimental to artists, authors, and other creators that the AI's algorithm is built on. In fact, here is an exact quote from Nathal on Discord. I generally don't like AI. It just feels like an inherently plagiaristic tool, though I feel that it's mostly like this due to the big people in the big companies who want to see big numbers, profits, get bigger. I think that it would be less egregious if people were given compensation for AIs using their art and writing for training, or even better, given the choice to opt out entirely. I just feel like it's basically stealing from artists and writers to generate something with a tool that takes no effort or talent to use. I still think it's pretty fascinating that we somehow made it this far, technologically, that we can even create these kinds of programs. Basically, I don't like AI one bit, but I think there are some solutions to solve the problems with it. The real issue isn't the software, it's the companies behind the software that use it to essentially steal other people's work. Honestly, this sums up much of my own feelings on the subject, especially considering the downright shitty way that companies such as Adobe outright do not allow their users the ability to opt out of having their work stolen and copied as training materials for AI. Joe, IDC Gaming, one of the founders of NetNarrator's Death Orders, Net's official Discord, had this to say. I am not by any means able to answer these questions beyond the scope of a viewer, but I will tell you this, viewers can tell, for the most part, if you've used a lot of AI. It can be good as a sort of an inspiration and, as others have said, proofreading. However, while quality work is not always immediately obvious, slop that was put together in 10 minutes by use of an AI absolutely is. AI can be tempting to use for lots of things, but to do so is tantamount to giving up on trying to do those things yourself. As for advice for new writers, just try your best. And write stories you want to. Even if it isn't good, obvious effort shows people that you are trying and are not one of those 20-minute video every 30 minutes slop channels. And even if what you write really isn't good, that is not the important part. The important part is that you try. And who knows? Maybe you'll learn a bit along the way. Agro Squirrel, a fellow human narrator on YouTube, was also kind enough to give me this response. AI is a tool that enables many things. The most prominent of them right now is the in-shitification of the internet. They are pushing people away from content they would normally like, but when they look for it, can now only find shadows and copies of what once was. When all you see is slop, you will seek entertainment elsewhere in all forms. I do not know what the fix for this is. The genie is out. Pandora is shocked, and times have changed. Beyond that, I have some direct answers to more specific questions. The first set comes from Black Knight 64, the founder of the HFY Discord, and one of the OGs of the HFY subreddit. He has also been a large help in finding resources for me while I researched this topic. I also reached out to A Vox in the Void, a Warhammer 40k narrator here on YouTube. And from a mod in Vox's Discord server, Tylerill. Question 1. What is the general community stance on AI? AI as a writing tool is banned. If utilized as a glorified spell checker or translation tool, we allow it. It's been a variety of responses. Some of my listeners have expressed that they have enjoyed some of the AI-based channels and that the stories are certainly improving, but the vast majority of my audience have expressed that it's ruining the hobby, a soulless endeavor that ultimately introduces false information to the masses. I'm in several communities and have ties to others. From a Discord for digital artists to being told how a friend is seeing it used on AO3. Many of these artists comment not only on the environmental impact of AI use, but how countless AIs are trained off stolen material. Even Black Library writers have noted their books and writing was stolen to have AI trained for them. So as a majority across several Discords, the general opinion is AI is slop. Question 2. What role, if any, should AI be allowed to be used in? See question 1. I think AI can be a useful tool in moderation. It's really helpful with analysing metrics and helping to think of possible ideas or starting off points. It's also handy for basic concept art, as the technology has advanced so much in this regard, but I can't see it ever being a viable substitute for real artists. I saw a study done where they used AI to help identify breast cancer for women earlier, and more treatable than before, due to the trained AI being able to spot the patterns and identify what is wrong. At link https://pmc.ncbi.nlm.nih.gov/articles/pmc10625863/. If there's a good use for AI, then surely this is it. Question 3. Have you seen a rise in AI-generated work in your communities? There has been a significant uptick. Oh, definitely. Even over the last 6 months, there has been an influx of AI-generated Warhammer content. It's actually damaging the flesh and blood creators, as it's almost impossible to compete with AI-driven channels that can write and produce over an hour of content a day. I believe that the algorithm is favouring these high-frequency uploads, and by looking at the numbers of similar channels to me and the worrying drop in viewership, this issue is ramping up every month. I have. Though many communities are quick to put their feet down and ban it outright, AO3 writers, or 2D artists and other creatives, the communities that haven't, I remove myself from entirely, so I have no idea how they've fared since. Question 4. What actions are deemed appropriate for strictly AI-generated content? Permanent bans. From the current statement from YouTube concerning AI-generated content, I think it's moving in the right direction. Demonetize strictly AI-generated content. It's a community-by-community basis. I know AO3 authors and others who auto-block/ban/mute when they spot AI material. Artists have shared ways to take down content trained off their stolen work, Nightshade for example, and have other methods for doing so. But until there's a way to deny AI access to stealing content to train upon, there's no solid way to handle them beyond blocking or removing or takedown requests. Ultimately, the people that use AI will seek to make a profit off of the efforts of hard-working creatives. Question 5. What methods or steps are taken to determine if there is AI-generated content or if the suspected work is claimed to be human-written? Pangram, mod review, and additional processes. This is a great question. I have wondered this for a while. How will sites like YouTube have the ability to argue that a script wasn't man-made? It's obvious to the human listener when something sounds off or deep in the uncanny valley. YouTube relies on AI itself to check uploads, so maybe there will be some form of digital copyright that is transferred from the AI model, etc. There's several sites to feed works into to determine AI content. A lot of artists can spot it at a glance. Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone's latest scandals, for example. Any artist or author will have a history of WIPS to show they've worked on content. For example, some AI artists will do a sketch and have AI do the rest of the art, while others can figure it out based off the writing patterns. Artists of all kinds have made several ways to figure out that kind of thing. Question 6. What advice or encouragement would you give to those new to the writing space and or nervous about putting their first works up? Write. Write more. Every good author has 100,000 to 500,000 bad words in them. Our community is extremely supportive and welcoming to authors of all skill sets. We want you to share your voice and add it to the rich tapestry that is HFY on the whole. You never know how well something will turn out until you try it. So give it a try. I began my channel as an outlet for community writers to share their work. I will always champion aspiring authors, and I wholeheartedly encourage you to continue with your dream. There's always going to be an audience that appreciates community writing, but I would recommend either uploading it to a respectable website or sharing it with a channel with a human touch. Believe in your passion, and do not let your work be drowned by other AI-written stories. You'll never start out good or great. Writing, painting, any kind of art is always a work in progress. It's a muscle that needs to be used to get better, or to shake the rust off. You never get better or make something without effort and flexing that muscle. With time, you'll look back at your first works and be surprised. We're all our own worst critics, but we're not as bad as we think we are. Scub, the author of Operation Snow Eagle, said, "I think it can be a useful tool for proofreading if you don't have anyone who can help you with it. I hate when people abuse it and have their stories written by AI. It completely removes everything that makes writing fun, and takes out any heart that may be in the story. While I personally don't use AI at all, it does have its ethical uses. My advice to new writers? Write what you want. Have fun with it. Even if people don't like it or you think it's bad, you only get better by doing. So just write what you want to write. Fuck it up a few times. It's okay. You can always go back and try again. Eventually, you will see yourself get better. You will gain that confidence. But the most important thing is that you enjoy it." From Tigra, the author of Hunter or Huntress, and at the time of replying, currently party drunk. "You can flood a valley with shit, but the peasants won't thank you. If you can't come up with anything better than a half-assed rewrite, you're not worth listening to, AI or not. If you need AI to get there, then fuck me, your mother needs a course before trying again. Writers have always failed in the shadows till they finally work it out. AI will overshadow you, then, like better writers did before. Won't stop you learning till you can mash him into the dirt like a pro." Tigra also sent me proof of the party, in the form of what appeared to be drunken boy band members dressed in only shorts, singing in an unknown language. I'm still not sure what to make of that. From the author of A Job for a Death Warder, Lanzan, had this to say. "Thoughts on AI. It is a powerful tool with very limited actual use, and the people who want to make big money off it, who are trying to sell you on it solving all your problems, are just trying to make a quick buck before the bubble pops. And I am convinced the people eating it up will not be looked upon kindly in the future." Words for new authors. Success is no indication of quality. Someone out there was paid handsomely to write, "Somehow Palpatine returned." First and foremost, you should write for yourself, and improve until you are happy with what you're writing. As long as you are happy with it, you can keep at it until you find that niche that people will flock to for yourself. Also, it is important to take constructive criticism and not shut down when someone is pointing out flaws in your work. It is also completely fine to take a break and not read any comments or criticisms for a couple of weeks if you're not feeling like it puts you in a good place. Both of these statements can be true at the same time. For the final quote, I reached out to my new favourite fanfiction author, Khor Al-Aran, and he had this advice to add for new authors. "Don't be nervous. Everyone starts off as an amateur, and the only way to improve is to give it a go. Relying on AI is flawed in this approach, as even if a work seems to do okay, you will only feel less confident in your own skills. That will lead to people thinking less of themselves and relying on AI even more, ultimately seeing themselves as useless without it. The brain is a muscle. Flex it, let it work, and you shall improve." I know that may have been a rather long section, and perhaps a little repetitive, but I believe it is important to show where various parts of the community stand on the abuses of AI, and in support of new, legitimate authors. That, and I wanted to make sure proper credit was given to those who took the time to respond to my questions. So, thank you all. I think I will wrap my part up here. It has been a pleasure reaching out and talking with so many people across different communities. With the current state of entertainment adapting to new technologies, the ever-shifting interests of the masses, and 100 other things that influence the social media landscape, I believe, and hope, that we have made it through the worst of the AI abuse. Not that I think we should ignore it. Far from it. If researching this subject has taught myself and Flint anything, it is that pretty much everyone, everywhere, dislikes the way AI is being used today. Dislike is definitely not a strong enough word for it, but I think that should be obvious at this point. While I knew going into this that taking the AI is bad stance was not going to be the hot take of the century, I suppose it has been eye-opening just how much almost everyone is on the same side of this issue. Perhaps this whole video is excessive, but I do think it is necessary. Others have already spoken out against the AI abuse, and I want to add my own voice and bring other people's thoughts on it with me. Oftentimes we find ourselves so involved within our own little corners of the internet or communities, it can be a little intimidating or a waste of time to reach out and interact with those outside of our spaces. If anything, I hope some good comes of this video, and who knows, perhaps we can find some new friends along the way. Now, with those thoughts in mind, let's move on to the last section of this probably very long video. A section revolving around what you yourself can do to help combat the AI slop. What to do if you are being harassed by someone. Simplest and easiest, ignore them. It might not be the best feeling option, but it is the most direct and effective method. If ignoring the idiot doesn't work, then there are escalations of blocking and reporting them for harassment on most sites. It is important to remember that there is more to you and your life than what is on the screen. It can be detrimental to your mental health if you allow the internet to have complete control over you. Do not follow Chris Chan's example. Make sure you take screenshots for the sake of propriety, though. Obviously, if things really escalate to the point of fear for your safety, and I hope that never happens to anyone, then reaching out to the proper real-world authorities or seeking advice from others is the best step. How can you reduce the amount of AI content you see? Short of completely leaving the internet, there is, at least on YouTube, a way to help mitigate some of the AI content that shows up in your feed. Specifically, on your YouTube homepage, on both mobile and desktop, you can click the three little dots that appear next to the title of the video. This opens a drop-down tab with several options. The Not Interested and Don't Recommend channel are the ones you want. The Not Interested tells the algorithm that you don't want to see more recommendations of that particular video or that type of video. Don't Recommend channel does the same thing for that particular channel. While neither of these are permanent fixes to removing unwanted content from your recommendations, it does cut down on it significantly. If you are wanting to be more specific, giving a video a thumbs down and leaving the video early can also make an impact on the video's performance in the larger algorithm overall. Most importantly, on top of all of that, YouTube is, as you may have seen or heard, beginning to really crack down on what they call repetitive content. After talking directly with YouTube representatives recently, they have told me that feedback concerning AI content is being taken seriously and looked at by human staff. On top of these specific video reporting systems above, YouTube also has a send feedback option for both desktop and mobile, which I have been told is read by human staff. While I'm not very familiar with the mobile version, desktop allows you to take and upload a screenshot, and has a description box that allows you to give detailed information about these issues you have with AI-generated slop. What you can do if your content is stolen. The first option is naturally to do nothing. It is your content and thus your decision in the end, plain and simple. I cannot nor would not tell you how to let your own works be used. But the next better option that I recommend is for YouTube. You can file a copyright claim or strike against the thief, getting YouTube involved by letting them know that your content has been used without your consent. If you receive backlash from the thief for placing a copyright strike, make sure to take screenshots of their messages and threats so you can laugh at them with your internet friends, or to keep as evidence for their shitty behaviour. Never fall for the sob stories these scumbags give you. They will do and say anything to try and manipulate you. Being vigilant is the best way to stay safe, though that is far easier to say with hindsight, and sometimes your trust can be betrayed. I want to take a moment to let someone who experienced this type of betrayal speak their own words on the subject.
So I recorded this already at least once, right? And I realized that it all boils down to one thing. And that's that these people who do these AI schlock stories, they're just thieves. All they do is steal. All they do is corrupt things that are already done. They take these stories from wherever they have to, they feed it into a machine, and it spits out dog shit that they can just peddle out every day, 4, 5, 6 stories a day. It's just constant dog shit. The manipulation, the tactics they use, they're just liars. All they're going to do is lie to you. They're going to feed you all this buttery bullshit that you may like or may sound good to you, but it all is just lies. I got lied to and had my massive successful sci-fi story stolen, and that was my fool me once moment. At every point, no matter how good or trusted that person may be, you get everything in writing. Show a pattern of ownership. Post these things on websites just for the fact you can prove, hey, this is my story, I wrote it this time, at this date, or here's my Google Doc, or here's my rough draft, or here's my program save timestamp. You have to literally show a progression of ownership over your things. After my stuff got stolen by this fucking piece of shit, I literally went and got copyrights on everything. And I'm still reeling from the theft. I'm still reeling from the fact that this majorly successful series, which could have that series could have carried me to places, and now it's gone. It's gone due to lies, and it's gone to greed. If I was emboldened by the lies, right, and all this bullshit I was fed, that series that this AI schlock channel stole from me could have been my big break. And instead of it being my big break, now I'm back at square one trying to do it all over again. You have to protect yourself, protect your works, protect the things you make at any cost and any shape. If you want to work with anyone, you get paperwork done. You get contracts. You retain every inch of that IP that you make. Everything you make, every word you put down, that is your intellectual property. It came from your brain. It's yours. And there are people out there who want to rip that from your fucking hands, put it on a dead skin suit, and parade that fucking thing around, and you can't let it happen. At this point, in this day and age, you can't trust a damn person. And I hate to say that. And if you find that one person who you can trust, that's probably a huge success. But you can't trust anyone, because everyone out there is just trying to make their dollar, make their buck, and they will beat you to death to get it. They will skin you alive and sell your bones just so they can make that money and get that bag. They don't care about you. 99% of these channels, they don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about your feelings, what you create, what you work. They will rip that IP out of your cold, dead hands and then pretend like it's theirs, all to get the money they want. I mean, it sounds dark and it sounds bad and it sounds absolutely dystopian, but at this time, you cannot trust anybody. Don't trust anyone. Don't trust fellow writers unless you can vet them. Don't trust a goddamn thing. And make sure you show a pattern of ownership and sign a contract at every point it pops up. And you always maintain control of your IP at all times. Don't ever let anyone get their fucking fingers on your IP or anything you own. Because if you fuck up and one of these scumbags gets their hands on your shit, your big break ends up breaking you.
What if you find stolen content on YouTube? If you think you found a stolen story, or any content in general, it is best to try and find the original author or creator. If you find them, send them the link and an explanation of how and where you found it. Do not act on someone else's behalf without their expressed permission. I will not advocate for mob mentality. It is one thing to gather evidence and go through the proper channels if you see something wrong, or suspect abuse or theft. It is another thing to start a witch hunt. Your actions are your own and you are responsible for them. Be respectful and give reasonable doubt until facts are presented. Even if the obvious is obvious, call it out without being malicious. I believe the best form of fighting this type of behavior is to reject it. Raise awareness of the issue. Support those who do things honestly and put effort in. Engage with each other and share ideas and stories. Be constructive in your criticism, and when given criticism, take it gracefully and grow. How to support the legitimate channels you enjoy. Engage with the videos and stories with likes and comments. I know it's become a catchphrase of videos these days, as nearly every video starts or ends with the words like, comment, and subscribe, but it really is the best way to drive engagement due to the way YouTube is structured. I know a lot of you listen to videos while at work or while driving, for example, but if you are able to do so, it does go a long way to supporting legitimate channels. Many authors on HFY also have Patreons linked through their Reddit pages, and with my videos. So if you really like a video I narrated, please take the time to go to the source and express your appreciation for their work. More so, there are dozens of Discord servers, big and small, where you can engage with other fans, and occasionally the authors themselves. A message that I wish to highlight in this video is one of community and support. Engaging with people of similar passions and interests helps everyone grow both individually, and it helps grow the community at large. So, with all that said, where do we go from here? For the most part, we keep going as we have. Keep sharing our stories, keep enjoying others' works, and keep encouraging each other. When those who seek to subvert or manipulate the community show themselves, we speak out against it. The abuse of AI is not limited to the HFI community. From Facebook to TikTok to here on YouTube, it is in pretty much every aspect of social media today. Its misuse is now an unfortunate part of the internet, and we are going to have to learn how to deal with it. I don't mean to sound pessimistic by saying that, or that we must simply roll over and accept the slop. Rather, I wish to galvanize our community. To those who are nervous to post their own works, please do. Creativity is quite literally the backbone of humanity. Human history begins with stories, passed down through generations in some form or another, and we find fulfillment in entertaining others. The spark of imagination, of wondering what could be, drives us forward. Humanity has forever looked to the stars and wondered, what else is out there? We live at a point in time where so much is possible, and so much has already been done. We have made reality out of many of the dreams and fantasies of our ancestors, and have access to things once thought impossible or magical only a few generations ago. While the world is far from perfect, it never will be if we stop trying. Part of that is dreaming, of wondering what else there is that we do not know, or what we may have. Not only what we ourselves might have in our own lifetime, but what might be in a time we will never see. What might there be in 100 years? In 1,000? What else is out there? I believe that is the question and the dream that has drawn many to the HFY community, and why the community is worth fighting to save. Well, this has certainly turned into much more of a project than I think we originally thought it would. If you're still watching, thank you for sticking through the video with me. And I want to know from you, what do you think of the AI abuse? Let's hear it down in the comment section below. I also want to thank all of you, subscribers, supporters, authors, and friends who have helped me grow this channel. Though it may be a cliche expression, I wouldn't be here without any of you. I genuinely love this community, and I want to see it continue to grow and inspire more people. There's so much we can achieve, even if it is simply making someone laugh or feel sad in a good way, I guess. And I always love it when I see in the comments that I've made someone's day a little better with a good story, or help them relax after a long day at work. If you haven't yet, check out the channels and communities that helped contribute to this project in the description below. My own Discord also hosts end-of-the-month live meetups where we talk about pretty much anything and everything, so if you'd like to ask me a direct question, you're more than happy to do so there. Or if you're a fellow creator and you'd like to reach out for other things, such as information on this subject or ways we can help, just ping myself or one of the mods in my Discord and we'll be in touch. If you've ever wanted to write your own story, then I encourage you to do so now. Don't be afraid to put your own work out there, as no one ever grows or improves by not trying something new. It is up to you in the end though, and simply giving your time by listening to the stories I share is more than enough. And so, I think that about wraps this all up. Keep reading, keep writing, keep living life. And for those days where things seem like it's too hard or like it's not worth it, remember that you are human, and humans always overcome. I've never asked for much on this channel, and I am forever honoured to entertain you as best as I can. But this is the first time that I am asking for your help on behalf of the HFY community, and I hope you will do your part as I do mine. Thank you.